law schools and to the general non-governmental environmental community, you've got to educate the public more, because without judges reading about this in the newspaper, it's not important. But as Tony says, it's in the newspaper every day. I woke up this morning early on and had CNN on and watched in real time the fact that the city of New York in Queens had a tornado set down in Queens, yes. and there was also a weather advisory, which they were showing me in real time. Of course, it was the evening, late afternoon at this time in New York, where they actually were showing where the tornado cells were coming up the Hudson River, which is where I live. Wow. I proceeded to email my family and make sure they hadn't been hit. But you know, this is when this happens, I think the attitudes of courts change. Which is why I don't know, Tony, am I wrong that the Supreme Court of the Philippines was moved by the state of events when they issued their new writ?
Yeah. Like the decision of 1993, for example, of the children's case, was the continuing mandamus of the threat was inspired immediately after the Manila Bay case came out. In fact, almost in real time, the member of the justice texted me, says, hey, we are working now, and the continuing mandamus that you have in your Manila Bay, we are now defining it in. So it was the rule followed the reality.
But Gustavo will remember when you brought some of your earliest cases, you were completely right on the law, but where have they gone? Are they 20 years later the same problem? I mean, we have this backlash in many parts of the United States where the courts are reluctant to really jump in and make the law effective. Brazil is the exception. It's trends, I think.
It's not the exception. In fact, it's exactly the same. But talking about complexity and the way we judges work, in the environment it has to be different, because the environment cannot wait 20 years. So we cannot have an environmental suit competing at equal level, at equal footing, you would say, with 20,000 credit collection suits, bankruptcy cases, or property rights disputes among neighbors. So this is one of the issues that we have to deal with, to change the law in order to prioritize environmental claims as much as petitions of habeas corpus, because we are dealing with the life, as Tony says, not with the life of one individual, but with the foundations of life. So this is one issue. A second issue that I didn't have time to discuss is the burden of proof. And here we have been developing, a number of techniques, but they have not been systematized, and we need to do it. So one possibility is the precautionary principle, but the precautionary principle means many things to different people and to different judges. So we have to spell out what we mean by the precautionary principle. For example, does the precautionary principle conveys a reverse of the proof of causation? Is that one possibility? My court has said yes, it does, especially in a legal system that has already gotten rid of the negligence standard and went to strict liability, but you are still left with causation. Who caused this? And we know that it's probably the most difficult question that we face especially pollution, contamination issues. Contamination of water, for example, especially water, water moves, or air. Who caused that? And aquifers, who contaminated that? So there are some, in addition to the institutional arrangements that we have been discussing, there are other issues that we have to deal with at the same time. Because if we don't do it at the same time, we end up with the new institutional arrangement not working. And then we are going to blame the new institutional arrangement for not working because it's a new institutional arrangement. I'm talking about specialized courts, for example. But the issue is not there. The issue is with other areas that influence judicial decision making. And there are several other problems that we need to address. I just mentioned one more. Would it be possible to think, taking for granted that we agree that we need specialized courts, that we would specialize those courts based on the traditional way in which we do it, or do we need to change our mindset and organize them based on the laws of nature? So you are going to have specialized courts by biomes or by ecosystems, because a judge can be very specialized on the environment, but he or she will be a much better specialized judge if he or she understands the biome in which he or she operates, as opposed to another biome or a series of biomes. So this is one possibility, and then you are taking an ecological approach to judicial organization. So those are just some issues for our discussion. Not today, next folder.
Next folder here.
So why don't we divide into two tables, and then have these discussions just within our table, and then report back our findings to the group as a whole. So if we took, say, 30 minutes and made sure that everyone at the table was able to contribute both what might be the problems or obstacles in your country to effective environmental adjudication and effective environmental enforcement, so that we have a clean and healthy environment. And then what might some of the solutions be that you might be able to propose based not just on what you've heard from other people today, but also see what you can come up with yourselves. So does that sound like a good idea? And then I'd like to welcome the back table to sit within these groups for this discussion. You can leave your stuff there if you want to. And just that way you can all participate equally. And then in about 25 or 30 minutes, I'll just call time on it, and we can see where we've gotten so far. Does that sound okay? Okay. And it's okay to be candid, regardless of whether you're from a less consuming country or an overly consuming country. They both have their problems, I assure you.
How does human rights work in residency? Are we able to structure cases that get to leverage anything, or are we too broad?
There are four used heritage convention, and if people ask for you investors, which seems to be a big tax data and stuff, to actually, if their sites are at risk because of climate change. Recent patterns of where their site no longer exists, so it's being taken off. And what is the action that's causing it? It's over-consuming countries and carbon emissions that are causing it. So, forums like that are not perfect, but they're important.
We had the students from Florida State University involved that petition
This is because
UNESCO.
people are poor.
They had a funny story. As they filed, they put a large block of ice in front of UNESCO to let it melt in the sun to make their point. And UNESCO people considered that, the security officers considered that a bomb threat. And so as they were going in to ask their block of ice, the place was cordoned off with the gendarmerie surrounded. To see what had happened, whether their block of ice was a bomb.
The areas where the animals.
So misunderstandings.
Facing many.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
But I think using ideas like that, probably there's lots of different areas out there to use.
That is what I was mentioning about, what you do and the follow. If you look at the ICJ, you look at the HITLOS, you look at the convention, there is always some dispute resolution mechanism in the treaties.
But probably we can propose the creation of one. Because our
It's still too far away. Still too far away. And by the way, ICJ already has a chamber. Whereas there are no cases.
But there are cases in the Permanent Court of International Arbitration. The trouble is those are
Consensual. No, it's not just commercial.
no.
Like Sudan, South Sudan,
Oh, yeah.
the delimitation for the territory. So in South Sudan, Southern Sudan was in the state. So, but they both have to agree at that time.
The problem about international, most international waterways is that have a state to take action.
And they kind of want to.
Kind of want to,
Thereabouts.
So is there anything that?
and if they're dependent upon 4 days, if they're dependent upon 4 days, it's the countries that they would be playing, because it's very
Or is it something that, you think these are the solutions, right? Providing for law, so that's both, police or some kind of, people that make sure that there's law and legal. Yeah, really reduce the illegal poaching, taking it home. And don't have to go. What's a strict project idea? Is that actually happening or just proposal? Is the government doing that right now? Oh, it's a policy. Oh, yeah, I bet, yeah, because then people get enough money to live on, and they don't have to.
What is our relief? What do we want? Yeah. So far this works, right? Or has it
since they already destroyed the wetlands to build it, how do you restore or compensate? Sometimes I think some of the worst rules on standing can get into court, and then I go someplace and find out that they're not let anyway. And so we at least let some people do it. But it's highly restricted compared to India, Philippines.
Establish an obligation.
But we still manage to operate. But I guess at this point,
going after states that are not complying with
the world, I keep seeing that
there is a compliance and trying to
really is an advantage
it's framed very discreetly,
being able to spread
have
good ideas and let
that can then build
everyone see what others are doing. So, an example in Thailand, there's another example.
So you're saying you can take a non-traditional adjudication administrative law decision, like the obligation to petition to the State Department
These
to
ideas
admit
out there,
a certain number of people from an island.
What are the
and then whether or not the State Department agrees or not, you file the administrative matter, and then even if they say no, you may have a exhaustion remedy, then you may be able to bring a case.
certainly in the United States is a common law country, fairly insular idea of things. We've opened up a little bit, and certainly around the world, looking at parallels and systems between civil law systems and
Very few people are really willing to take a case to court. I mean, for example, you know,
also a lot to
you can do very, you can do many things. You said what we're going to do in the Philippines to fight
And that's something
to change the road system. I mean, it shakes up. What we really need is to shake up the status quo.
what I hope is possible.
My case is, we're just tell us to shake up the status quo. This and go. And then
I'm completely biased thinking about
it's
this.
something we can work on.
The international aspects of things.
Do this, and Danny says I'm going to do this, and Beijing says I'm going to do this, Singapore with the KY building.
It's a really important one, and that's a major obstacle in the United States, and I think there's a lot of schools that the burden of proof is very square, both in terms of the substantive violation and constitution.
Best way we can.
Right.
And that fits.
It's not a big question, but it's the one, British Petroleum is not the one that has to prove that we didn't cause those oil balls to rush upon the beach. We didn't cause those balls to have hormone changes. That's not how it works. It's anyone who is claiming from apples that to be a successful citizen that have to prove those links. And those are the parties who do this about what's actually going on. Okay, who's got the most information? I should prove these things. It's going to be coming.
Right, responsibility for the
Whatever else might be.